All right, everyone's here. Let's go.
My mother-in-law said in an unusually cheerful tone. Oh, excuse me. I haven't had a chance to use the restroom yet. Her face immediately turned sour, and she looked at me as if I were a major inconvenience.
Seriously, what have you been doing? Everyone else already went. Hurry up, or we'll miss the flight.
She let out an exaggerated sigh. Sorry, I'll be quick, I said and ran toward the restroom.
Hurry up.
I could hear her voice calling out behind me. I quickly finished, washed my hands, and rushed back to the parking lot. Why is she in such a hurry when we still have plenty of time before the flight? As I puzzled over it, I was greeted with an unexpected sight. Wait, I'm pretty sure it was parked around here. The silver sedan my father-in-law had been driving was no longer in its spot. Was I mistaken? I looked around where I thought it might be, but no matter where I checked, the car was gone. After about 5 minutes of searching, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law, Maria. Yes, Maria? I could hear her laughing over the phone.
You took too long in the restroom, so we decided to leave without you.
Her voice sounded genuinely amused. I realized at that moment that this had been her plan all along. Wait, please hold on.
It's your fault for being so slow.
Hearing those words, I gave up. All right, enjoy yourselves on my behalf.
Of course, take care of things while we're gone.
With that, she hung up. I hope the three of them enjoy their overseas trip as much as possible. The three of them can enjoy their happiness for now while it lasts. I sat at the rest area, beer in hand, pondering what lay ahead for the three of them. My name is Rachel. I'm in my 20s and work at a company. My husband, John, is also in his 20s and works at a company. We met through our mutual friend during our school years. Apparently, he saw me around town and fell in love at first sight.
If you don't like it, you can turn it down.
Well, I guess I have no choice. At the time, I wasn't interested in dating, but my friend convinced me to meet him. Reluctantly, I ended up meeting John for dinner at a restaurant with our friend joining us. I wasn't sure what to expect. But when he arrived, he was well-dressed and looked like an average office worker. I was relieved that he seemed like a normal person.
I bet it was a shock when some random guy who just saw you on the street invited you to dinner. It must be felt like a new kind of pickup line,
He said, clearly embarrassed. I almost spit out my champagne but managed to hold it back. Seeing this, he quickly pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and handed it to me. His thoughtful gesture left a good impression. I took the handkerchief and thanked him. It was a neatly ironed handkerchief. It wasn't that bad, but I was definitely surprised.
Really?
Yeah, not many people notice me like that. As I said this, I felt my face flush. Our conversation flowed well, and I found myself wanting to know more about John. I decided to give the relationship a chance. John was very close to his parents, and he even had family photos displayed at his home. I thought of him as a kind and family-oriented person. Having lost my parents at an early age, I admired John's close bond with his family. We dated steadily and eventually decided to get married. When I told my friend about our engagement, she looked concerned.
Are you sure about this?
It must stem from the fact that I grew up not really understanding what a family is. That's what I laughingly told my concerned friend. You're worrying over nothing. After getting married, John and I moved into a new apartment. It was close to the station and right across from a park, making it an ideal place for raising kids in the future. When I expressed my desire to keep working, John was supportive.
Of course. Honestly, it helps me too.
I loved my job and wanted to save as much as possible for our future. The apartment, with its large windows and a fresh, new smell, had a great view. We should get a new sofa.
Yeah, let's go look for one this Sunday.
I felt happy being by John's side. I unpacked the new dishes we had bought for the move and neatly placed them in the kitchen drawers. The blue and green plates, still wrapped in paper, sparkled as if brand new. Humming to myself, I put them away carefully. Then the doorbell rang. Who could that be?
No idea. We're not expecting any more deliveries, right?
John, who was putting away clothes in the bedroom, came into the kitchen. Looking at the intercom screen, I saw a familiar face. Wait, isn't that your parents? I turned to John in surprise, but he avoided my gaze. What's going on? Left with no choice, I unlocked the lobby door and let them come up to the apartment.
Hello. Wow, it's quite far from our place.
There they stood, smiling, with large bags in hand. Well, what's with all the luggage?
Oh, don't worry. John already gave us the okay.
It seemed they planned to stay over, even though we had just moved in. But the amount of luggage seemed excessive for just a short visit.
What? He didn't tell you? Honestly.
I didn't know. I was left speechless. Before I could process what was happening, my in-laws made themselves at home, bringing their belongings into the spare room. What's going on here? John still wouldn't answer and stayed in the bedroom. Meanwhile, I was roped into cleaning the kitchen and bathroom with Maria. What is happening? John stayed silent, and eventually, my in-laws ended up staying indefinitely. The next day, I went to work, returning home in the evening. I figured it couldn't be helped, but when I got home, Maria was in the kitchen with a stern look on her face. I'm back. I greeted her, but she immediately yelled.
Where have you been? Slacking off on housework and fooling around.
I was at work. I stammered, trying to respond. She snorted and pointed at the kitchen.
Enough excuses. Clean this up and get dinner ready.
She gave that order. The kitchen, which I had cleaned that morning, was now littered with dirty dishes my in-laws had used during the day. Maria, it would help if you could wash the dishes. Before I could finish, she shot me a sharp glare. John, who had come home earlier than me, was sitting nearby. I turned to him for help. John, can you give me a hand?
Oh, sure.
Rachel, don't bother John. He's tired. Wait until later.
Got it. Left with no choice, I cleaned the kitchen, started chopping vegetables, and began cooking dinner. Later, when I checked the laundry room, I found it piled high with my in-laws' dirty clothes and John's clothes from his shower. I thought the least John could do was run the washing machine, but when I looked over, he was relaxing with his father, drinking beer. With a sigh, I tossed the laundry into the washing machine and started it. At the same time, I finished cleaning the bathroom and returned to the kitchen. Maria was sitting on the sofa, working on her knitting hobby. Apparently, she was into making hats this time. She showed no intention of helping with dinner and kept her back turned to me as she worked. Watching her out of the corner of my eye, I finished preparing dinner. Dinner was ready a little after 7 p.m., and I called the three of them to the table.
Dinner's a little late in this house, isn't it?
Maria sighed as she placed her knitting project into a basket.
Oh, come on. Don't say it like that.
My father-in-law, Sam and John, both tipsy and red-faced from beer, sat down at the table.
Looks good, doesn't it?
We all gathered around the table, sharing comments and complaints about the meal. I hardly remember how the food tasted that night. I used to long for the idea of a close-knit family, but is this what it's supposed to be? It felt different from the family bond I had imagined. Balancing housework and my job, I finally had a day off from work. That morning, I started deep cleaning the entire apartment. I stripped the covers off the beds and washed sheets for all 4 of us, hanging them out to dry on the balcony. The weather was perfect, and I was sure they would dry quickly. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the refreshing air. Then, I noticed the dirt on the balcony windows. Since I'm on the shorter side, I realized I couldn't easily reach the higher spots. I decided to ask John, who was lying on the couch watching TV. "Hey, John, could you help me out for a second?" He gave me an annoyed look.
What is it?
He kept lying there, looking up at me with disinterest. I couldn't believe how lazy he was. And just as I was about to explain my request, Maria chimed in from the sofa.
Rachel, what on earth are you trying to make the breadwinner of this household do?
Well, I was just going to ask him to help clean.
Cleaning? Asking your husband to clean is ridiculous. What kind of upbringing did you have? I've never made my husband do chores.
Angrily scolding me, she stormed off to the room she had claimed as her own. Watching her retreating figure, John turned back to me and said,
Well, there you go.
"What does that even mean?" Left with no choice, I brought out a folding step stool and finished the cleaning myself. I felt like crying, realizing how spineless John was when it came to his mother. But John's lack of reliability wasn't my only concern.
Rachel, can I get that now?
Sam asked with a sly grin, referring to the allowance he demanded every month. It wasn't just him. Maria also asked for money regularly. Could you discuss this with John instead? When I said that, Maria exploded with anger.
He already pays the living expenses. If you're working too, you should be generous enough to give us a little spending money.
Faced with her yelling, I reluctantly gave them $300 each month.
Well, that's barely anything. Don't be so stingy.
Her complaints were relentless. I carried on with my days, letting their words go in one ear and out the other. If I hadn't, I would have broken down long ago. If they had the energy to complain, at least they weren't sick, I thought to myself. A few months after they moved in, Sam suddenly fell ill and was hospitalized. According to the doctor's diagnosis, it is gout. I went to the hospital multiple times to care for him and even covered his hospital and treatment expenses. When I talked to John about the costs, he stuck out his tongue apologetically and said,
Sorry about this. Can you take care of it?
After a few weeks in the hospital, I decided to help Sam adopt a healthier lifestyle upon his discharge. I borrowed books from the library and planned nutritious meals for him. While Sam enjoyed the new meals, Maria clearly wasn't pleased.
That's so bland. What is this?
She said as she poked at the beef stew. I adjusted the seasoning and reduced the salt for health reasons.
Well, the flavor's mild, but it's tasty,
Sam said, complimenting the dish. Meanwhile, Maria wore a sour expression beside him. The next day, clearly dissatisfied with my cooking, Maria went grocery shopping. She bought greasy prepared foods and served them to Sam. Looking at the leftovers, I said to her, Maria, you need to pay more attention to his diet, or his gout will flare up again. I urged her to help improve his eating habits. They must have been living with such eating habits all along. I knew it wouldn't be easy to change years of unhealthy habits overnight. But she showed no interest in listening to me.
Stay out of it. You're not family.
She scolded me harshly. A few weeks after my father-in-law's discharge, John came up with an idea.
How about a trip to LA to celebrate Dad's recovery?
LA, that sounds wonderful. I was thrilled at his suggestion. John and I hadn't even gone on our honeymoon yet. The idea of our first trip filled me with excitement. My in-laws were also overjoyed, smiling ear to ear.
That's my son.
Maria praised John, clearly delighted. Since John offered to book the plane tickets and a luxury hotel online, I focused on getting everything else we'd need for the trip. Finally, the departure day arrived. From the morning, Maria was unusually upbeat.
Does this hat look good on me? Or maybe this one?
She kept pondering over her options. Since she had knitted them herself, the only difference between the hats was the color. They all looked the same to me. I think the green one you made recently suits you best. She picked up the green hat made of yarn and looked pleased. Since John wasn't confident driving, Sam took the wheel to the airport. John and I sat in the back seat, and we headed out. The weather was great, warm and sunny, and my in-laws were in a good mood. Everything seemed perfect. After about an hour of driving, we stopped at a rest area for a restroom break. Maria, who had been chatting nonstop and drinking plenty of tea, hurried to the restroom.
Oh, Rachel, make sure to pick up souvenirs for the relatives. I'm counting on you, 6 sets, and don't buy the same ones for everyone.
She shouted before disappearing. We hadn't even reached our destination, so why were we buying gifts here? Still, I followed her instructions and carefully chose 6 different sets of gifts. Oh. Carrying 6 sets of gifts was no small task. After loading them into the car, I finally headed to the restroom.
All right, everyone's back. Let's go.
She said in an unusually excited tone. Wait, I haven't used the restroom yet. When I objected, she gave me a deeply annoyed look.
What? Everyone else is already gone.
She let out an exaggerated sigh. Sorry, I'll be quick, I said as I dashed off to the restroom.
Hurry up.
I heard her call out behind me. I quickly finished, washed my hands, and returned to the parking lot. We still had plenty of time before the flight, so why was she in such a rush? Puzzled, I was met with an unexpected sight. Wait, I'm pretty sure it was parked around here. The silver sedan Sam had been driving was no longer in its spot. Could I have made a mistake? I searched the surrounding area where it might be, but the car was nowhere to be found. After about 5 minutes of looking, I got a call from Maria. Yes, Maria? I could hear her laughing on the other end of the line.
You took so long in the restroom, so we decided to go ahead without you.
Her voice was full of amusement. It was then that I realized this had been her plan all along. Wait! Please, hold on.
It's your own fault for being so slow.
Hearing this, I resigned myself to the situation. All right, please enjoy the trip for me as well.
Of course. Take care of the house while we're gone.
She hung up after saying that. I immediately looked at my smartphone. I logged into the credit card company's member page and submitted a request to suspend my card. Now what? I looked around the quiet parking area. Apparently, they were selling apple pie nearby. I decided to try some first. By the time I had indulged in various snacks at the rest area and felt full. Then, Maria called again. I answered the call, holding a can of beer in one hand.
What did you do?
What do you mean? I calmly sipped my beer as she shouted on the other end.
Why have the plane tickets been canceled? Did you do something?
Even as she accused me, I knew there was nothing I could do. It seemed Maria had decided that I must have accessed their ticket booking account and canceled the reservations out of spite. How did she even come to that conclusion? For one, I wasn't involved in booking the tickets at all. The only thing I did was suspend my own credit card. Oh, I see. That's probably why. I muttered to myself, but Maria didn't miss it.
What do you mean? It was you, wasn't it?
Wasn't the payment for the tickets made with my credit card? It didn't seem like she understood what I was saying. So, since I suspended my card, the payment likely didn't go through, and the tickets were canceled.
What's that supposed to mean?
Apparently, John had booked the tickets, but the payment was made using my card. Anticipating something like this, I had suspended the card. When Maria learned this, she directed all her anger at me.
John is paying for the living expenses. The trip expenses should be your responsibility. That's why I allowed you to work.
Her voice was filled with indignation, and she yelled at me with a condescending tone. Even holding the phone away, I could still hear her shouting. At this rate, I was at risk of going deaf. Since my ears were starting to hurt, I reluctantly hung up. I also blocked her number for good measure. Once everything was quiet, the beer tasted even better. It was time to call for a ride. I reached out to my friend who had been worried about me marrying John. She arrived quickly after I contacted her. When she showed up, I was just opening my second can of beer.
This turned into quite the disaster.
She sighed. Sitting in the passenger seat with her permission, I continued sipping my beer. Who would have thought they'd just leave me behind like that?
That's why I told you not to marry him.
She said with a bitter expression. It was clear that she was extremely exasperated. Come on now, don't get so mad, I said, leaning on my friend for comfort. It's going to be a hassle from here on out. Once I got back home, I immediately called a moving company to clear out the furniture.
All of it.
Yes, please. When I had moved into this house, I had brought my favorite furniture with me. Most of it was inherited from my late parents. Looking at the now spacious house, I felt a strange sense of relief. Meanwhile, after 2 weeks of traveling, John and his parents returned. John called me as soon as he landed.
Please, I need your help.
What's wrong? I decided to hear him out. Apparently, the three of them had enjoyed their trip using John's credit card, but Sam's gout flared up at the airport. Even though I had warned him to be careful, he had indulged in extravagant meals during the trip. Now, unable to drive due to the pain, they were stuck. Maria didn't have a driver's license, and John wasn't confident enough to drive. In desperation, they had called me. Well, I don't own a car, so I can't help you. Having said that, I hung up the phone. Left with no other choice, the three of them managed to hitchhike their way home.
Oh, finally, we're home.
I heard their weary voices from the front door. As they walked into the house, exhausted, they froze in shock. The furniture was gone. The three of them stared at me, mouths agape.
What happened to the house?
Welcome back. Must have been a tough trip. I greeted them casually. Maria was the first to snap out of it, exploding with rage.
What is this? You thief! Where's all the furniture?
Dodging her attempts to grab me, I calmly answered, What are you talking about? All the furniture was mine. Crossing my arms, I stood firm as Maria glared daggers at me. She was clearly not ready to accept this.
You're a disgrace as a wife. I never want to see your face again.
She spat the words out. Well, that was my line. Seizing the opportunity, I placed a completed divorce paper on the floor. John said in a trembling little voice.
Please reconsider.
Hearing this, Maria erupted like a volcano.
Good riddance. You better go along with it.
She pressured John into agreeing to the divorce. He must have been controlled like this all his life. John seemed to have no way to resist and reluctantly complied with his mother's demands. With shaky hands, he signed the paper and handed it to me, shoulders slumped. Finally, I'm free! I could barely contain my joy. My voice betrayed my excitement, even if I held back from dancing. Oh, by the way, Maria, did you know? I asked Maria with mock curiosity.
What now?
I explained how John had quit his job after we got married to pursue a career as an illustrator. However, despite posting his work on social media, he hadn't earned a cent. So, John wasn't contributing to living expenses at all. I was paying for everything. I declared loudly, making sure she understood. She was clearly very irritated. Maria was glaring at me, biting her lip. John, looking dejected at my feet, muttered in a small voice.
I thought we could live off Rachel's income.
He even started crying. I had thought John became more unreliable after his parents moved in, but I hadn't realized it was this bad. I was so stunned I didn't even have words. Oh, by the way, watching John slumped back, I suddenly remembered something. Oh yes, an important detail. I was also transferring funds to cover the payments on John's card, but that's stopping now too, I said, making sure to be clear. Maria, stunned, gaped at me. Her expression was almost comical. This trip's expenses? Not my problem anymore because I'm divorced now. I predicted they'd soon receive payment demands for the travel expenses. Snapping out of her shock, Maria glared at me and shouted,
Family is supposed to help each other. You should pay it.
She tried to intimidate me, but I calmly stepped toward the door. Family? Well, we're not family anymore. I'm divorced. I left those words behind and hurried outside. Waiting in front of the apartment, my friend waved me over. Hurry up. As I approached her car, I noticed all three of them chasing after me.
Get the car, now.
Maria yelled at Sam, but he was immobilized by the pain in his foot. She then turned to John, but he shouted back,
I can't drive either.
How pathetic. Isn't the car still at the airport? I muttered as I got into the car. As my friend's car started moving, Maria attempted to run after us, but her unfit body couldn't keep up. Looking at the three of them in the rearview mirror, my friend and I burst into laughter as we headed to the city office. 3 months later, I was officially divorced and feeling refreshed. I cut the hair I had been growing out for years, chopping it from mid-back length to a long bob. It felt like shedding not only my hair, but all the unnecessary memories tied to it. I was in a great mood, and even people at work complimented my new look, saying it suited me. That day, I styled my newly cut hair lightly and headed to the office. Having time for myself like this felt wonderful, something I had come to appreciate more and more recently. As I approached my workplace, I noticed a commotion outside.
What's going on here?
Is it some kind of protest?
A protest? Curious, I stopped and looked closer. Pushing through the crowd, I spotted someone at the center. Oh no, it's Maria, I whispered in disbelief. She was sitting there with a sign that read, Justice against the bad wife. Unbelievable. What kind of nerve does it take to pull this off? If she noticed me, she'd undoubtedly cause a scene. Just then, a police officer approached her.
Mom, you can't sit here. This is private property. Let's have a chat at the station, okay?
No way. I'm waiting for someone.
Even with the police, she was defiant. Apparently, someone had reported her for obstructing the area.
I didn't do anything wrong.
She protested loudly but then spotted me and pointed, shouting.
There she is. That bad wife. It's all her fault.
Thankfully, the crowd was so large that no one knew who she was pointing at. I quickly slipped away, pretending I didn't know her. Well, technically, we had been strangers for 3 months already. Later, I got a call from the police, informing me of what she had told them. According to her, John had received notices from the credit card company after the trip, but couldn't make the payments. No surprise there. He had no income. His parents couldn't afford to cover the costs either, and they ended up on a blacklist, facing significant financial trouble. Apparently, Sam's gout had worsened, but without insurance payments, they feared the high cost of hospital treatment and opted for home care instead. It was a sad story, but there was nothing I could do to help. Hearing it all left me feeling down. I was staring at my shoes when I heard a car horn. My friend had arrived to pick me up. She was waving at me with a smile. I walked over, got into the passenger seat, and said, "Sorry, and thank you."
No problem at all. Sorry I'm late.
It was no overtime day, so I had managed to finish work early. I had planned ahead to take the afternoon off so we could head out for a trip. We were going to stop by my new place to pick up my luggage and then head off together.
Tonight, we're having an amazing dinner.
And a resort hotel too. The views will be incredible. My friend replied cheerfully as she drove. We had plans to stay at a luxury hotel, enjoy the pool. It's probably around the time when the autumn leaves are at their most beautiful. I couldn't wait to see the scenery from the car windows. We're usually surrounded by crowds of people. The beauty of nature must be truly exceptional.
Before we get there, I want to try some delicious soft serve ice cream.
My friend showed me a shop on social media that was along the way, her excitement evident. Sounds perfect. Let's eat all the good stuff we can. A girl's trip with a good friend was guaranteed to be fun. Tomorrow, we are planning to visit a spiritual spot to restore our energy, hoping to find a good relationship with someone this time around.